Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Needle, and in today's video I'll be talking to you guys how you can start improving your aim on linear aim assist. As a lot of you guys do know, they added in a new aim assist setting, or just new advanced controller settings, about 2 months ago, and since then there's been a big craze. All the top controller players have switched over to linear, and the main reason they switched was due to the fact that it is a lot smoother for editing and building, and it's just more reactive, and it feels a lot more like a mouse compared to using a stiff thumbstick. Now, with that being said, when it comes to editing and building, those will be the main differences that you will notice if you've never tried linear before, but you do need to keep in mind there are also a lot more benefits to linear than just the editing and building. Mainly, you're going to see the big difference in your SMG aim and your hipfire tracking and accuracy. For whatever reason, it's a lot easier to lock onto opponents when you're just using your hipfire and not aiming in, but on the other end, when you are aiming in, it's actually a lot harder to hit shots. It's a lot harder to control. For whatever reason, it feels a lot more sensitive when it comes to using linear aim assist and aiming down sights with an assault rifle. So with all that said, I will now show you guys in this creative map how you can start improving your aim and actually start hitting a lot more shots on linear if you have been struggling. Before I dive too far into the video though, I would like to let you guys know I'm doing my best to pump out as much content as I can relating to improving in Fortnite, or just Fortnite videos in general. So if you guys like that, if you guys are down for that, make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications if you guys do want to be reminded when I do post again. Always leave a like and comment on the video what your favorite part of the video was. Now let's get right into it. Now the map I will be using today is Don Wazi's Skavok Aim Training V4 map. You guys know I've made a bunch of videos on his maps in the past. This is actually the newest edition, so I have not actually made a video on this map specifically. So if you guys want to see me showing off the best scenarios I use in this map to get warmed up with my aim, let me know down in the comments. But just want to let you guys know this is the map I'm using, and the code is on the screen now: 8022-6842-4965, and I'll try to put that in the description as well for you guys that do want to check this map out. But yeah, without further ado, let's hop into it. And if you guys did not know about this map, the reason I'm always ranting and raving about it is, for one, I actually talk with Don Wazi a little bit on Twitter here and there. We've talked actually a good amount, but yeah, his maps are definitely the truth. If you guys have not seen, this is used by Tfue at this point, Mongrel, Atlantis Lecce. I've seen Innocence on this map before, so it's used by a bunch of different keyboard and mouse players and controller players. So this map is definitely the truth and where you guys need to be if you're looking to. Now to start, the first thing I like to do is warm up just like my hipfire sensitivity I was mentioning. It is a lot better, so I like to hop in here. There's a lot of targets and you can just track all around, but yeah, just so you guys get a gist of it, you're going to be able to rip a lot more just consecutive shots on linear when it comes to tracking hipfire for whatever it is. And yeah, so once you guys see, once I get in the groove here, all these shots are hitting. So this is a really good way just to get warm and get your sensitivity just feeling good for the day. But yeah, as you guys can see, linear is a very, very aimbot-like mechanic. Once you start hitting one shot, the shots just kind of multiply. So using the hipfire to your advantage, whether it's in an SMG fight, and this also does work for attack shotguns as well. So your hipfire with attack shotguns is going to be a lot better when it comes to 50-50 if you guys haven't noticed already. Yeah, there you guys go. Hit like 8 shots in a row on that guy. Yeah, so all around, your hipfire is going to be a lot better. So that's the first thing you want to keep in mind when you switch to linear. Might have to get a little bit used to it because it does feel a little bobble-headed like at first. I know a lot of people explain like that, where it's basically just a little too flicky on linear, but I will show you guys how you can combat that if you do go into your settings here. I'll actually show you guys right now. So when you go into your settings, the reason it might feel a little bit too flicky or too sensitive is this setting down here called the look dampening time. And the easiest way to explain this is, what they explain is the time it takes to reach the expected look rotation speed after applying initial input to the stick. Basically, how much force you have to apply to like the middle of your thumbstick before it starts moving. So basically think about like moving your thumbstick like little by little. So the higher it is, the higher your look dampening time is, the little bit harder it is going to be actually get your thumbstick to start moving, almost like a dead zone. You don't have to mess around with it yourself. But personally, I run mine at 0.0, I run flat 0. And the reason for that is I'm pretty used to it and I like playing on that higher sensitivity. But if you guys are struggling, try to put this up a little bit. This is going to help you a ton when it comes to AR shots. Now, with that actually being said, let's go into the horizontal tracking. and show you guys how you can start getting a little bit better with the just the AR all around when it comes to linear. So like I said, it's going to be a lot harder to control if you're not used to it compared to exponential or just legacy, but for whatever reason, once you do get used to it, the tracking is a lot better on linear. But you do got to keep in mind you're not going to get as much auto rotate, you're only going to get the tracking part of it. So what that means is you can't like L2 spam like this as you could with legacy. So with linear, it is all tracking and following the target. So that's something to keep in mind when you're using linear. Do not try to use auto rotate at all. Just simply track like this, as I'm actually cracking this guy a lot. I'm not really missing at all. But yeah, you guys can see this is really disgusting, and it really is aimbot like. I'm not trolling when I say that, and I'll show you guys what I use for my ADS sensitivity in here. So I do use 55. I should have mentioned that for you guys who maybe are new to linear. That's going to be a little high at first, maybe don't want to go that high when you first start. But with that, also, to kind of counteract that, I do run a very low ADS. So you guys see I use like 13% and 12%, just because it does really feel a lot more sensitive. So you do have to like crank it down a ton. I know I used on like legacy, I used about 30% or like 35% of what my Hipfire sense was. So 13% is a big difference, but it is actually a lot slower and a lot easier to control than you would think. And also, if you are struggling to hit AR shots and feel like you can't really track, it's just hard to control in general, you can try to up your dead zone and your look dampening time a little bit. That way it doesn't feel as like flicky and sensitive as I was mentioning. Those two kind of go together and can help you get a little bit better AR aim, just because AR aim is going to be the hardest to develop on linear over time. Now, the next thing I like to do, this is more of like an aim training kind of thing, is come into vertical tracking as well, because that right there was only horizontal. You do need to counteract it a little bit. So after you do that, maybe you want to come in here and start doing the vertical, just to maybe track opponents that are like falling down builds, or just you break them out or whatever. So this is actually a really good way to get your overall AR aim up. And I feel like if you guys do the horizontal and vertical, you'll see
Why don't you just buy a Yeti from Best Buy?
Now that I showed you guys my sensitivity and what I do when I hop into aim training maps to get my AR aim warmed up and just my overall aim in general good, I would like to talk about the biggest downside, or just the biggest issue when it does come to linear aim assist. So I actually was watching Roadie Bro's video, shout out to him. I did not realize this, but around 130 meters to 140 meters, you do lose all of your aim assist with an assault rifle when you're aiming down sights. So it's going to feel really weird when you start shooting at people super far away with linear. So that is something you guys do need to just keep in mind in general, is that going for those long AR tags across the map or anything past, like I mentioned, 130 meters is going to be super duper hard to hit. So something to keep in mind, try to keep your AR shots in medium to not too long range, just because it gets a lot clunkier around there. Now the next thing I need to mention when it comes to using linear is your sniper shot. Using a sniper really is not a viable option on linear for a couple of reasons. For some reason, they have not added in like a separate sensitivities just for snipers. And if you saw my settings I used before, I used about 12 to 13% on my ADS, and that's just way too low to snipe with. It's really hard to track anybody or predict where they're going, just because you can't scope them out fast enough, because on linear you just really need to run a lower ADS sensitivity. With that being said, sniping is just, it's not an option. So I personally have stopped picking up snipers on linear. If you guys still use legacy or exponential, I'm sure you guys can get away with it, but instead I have started swapping out my snipers for SMGs, just because SMGs are really overpowered, and when it comes time to hop into a box, I'd rather have an SMG than having a sniper that I might hit a snipe once or twice in a game. Also, I would like to mention, just because some people in my old videos, I always talked about spamming L2, using the auto rotate for pumps and tacks for shotgun fights, but since I have switched to linear, I'll just talk from my personal experience. My shotgun aim is probably twice as good as it ever was on legacy. I know it seems really cool just to, like, I don't know, when you get like a purple or gold pump and run up to someone and get that easy L2 200 pump, it's cool, it works, but overall you're just going to be so much better when you hop into a box fight or you're just playing with your friends. Your shotgun aim will be a lot better. Trust me on that. Don't feel like that's a downside at all to linear. Your shotgun aim will get better, especially with hacks when it comes to close quarter. Now, that's all for the tips for this video and how to improve your aim on linear. Hopefully you guys did learn something. If you guys do want me to make that video about Don Wazzy's aim map, covering all the special features it has, I think I only showed you guys 2 different scenarios, the horizontal tracking and then the vertical tracking. And I also showed the 360 close range. Those are 3 very good ones, but the map is very, very big and there's a ton of different stuff I can show you guys in the map. So if you guys would like me to do a little tutorial on how I fully warm up my aim, please let me know in the comments. That's been all for me, guys. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.